couldn't walk to your door, couldn't bear to call.
Welcome to the Radiant Enchantress show today. Thank you for joining us.
Today we have a panel discussion about what's up with women's circles and our experiences with women's circles. And today, I'm Jane Jones, one of the founders of the Radiant Enchantress Initiative, and I'm really excited to welcome my guests today, Annissa Coy and Lorraine Moir. Did I say that correctly, Lorraine?
Moir, that's good.
Moir, yeah, okay. So I always say things with a French accent because I speak French, so that's where that comes from. Anyway,
sounds fancy.
Okay, so well, you are fancy. I'm going to ask each one of us to just introduce ourselves and how you came to be here today. And then we'll go around again and talk about women's circles and our friends, our groups of circles that we have that really support and help us. So, Annissa, so tell us, how did you come to be here today?
Mm-hmm. As Jane said, my name's Annissa Coy, and I always like to summarize up when people want to know a little bit about me, and I say, all you need to know is that I am a mermaid who has temporarily been grounded and has lost her fin. Mm-hmm. And I live in the beautiful state of Washington on the beach, and Jane and I met, oh my gosh, I want to say it's been about 11 years ago, so 12 maybe, 12?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we were hanging out one day on a beautiful beach together in the Caribbean, and Jane started having conversation with me about her camps that she has for children, and we started talking about women and young girls. With my background, I have a very soft place in my heart for young girls, especially that are struggling maybe out of diversity or tough times. And so Jane started talking about the Enchantress movement, which just really, really intrigued me. And I asked her if I could be involved as much as she'd like me to be. And just sort of things moved from there. As far as me being on the call, Jane, about a year ago, I went to my very first ever women's retreat that Jane actually did. And it was a Root Strength retreat, which anyone listening, if you get an opportunity to go to a Root Strength retreat, please do yourself the favor and go. It was a extremely life transforming experience for me. It was the first time I'd ever been exposed to women's circles. And I had been struggling for a couple of years before I went to this retreat with the suicide of my uncle, very unexpected suicide. And we were very, very close. He was just really super close with me. And so it hit me very hard, and I was still really struggling with how to deal with that. And the retreat that I did with Jane and being a part of the women's circle, which we did, I think, a few times that weekend. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jade. Mm-hmm. But it was an extremely moving experience to be able to feel so comforted and so safe and supported, I guess is the word that I'm looking for. And so that being my experience that I had on that retreat, when Jane mentioned wanting to do this call and really wanting to help women understand what is Women's Circle, what it's about, like what, because it sounds like, okay, what do y'all do? Like sit around a fire and sing Kumbaya together? Like, what is this, And so I was very excited to be able to be on the call and speak with Lorraine and and Jane. I always love to be on the phone with Jane, and be able to help maybe introduce somebody to Women's Circle, the concept, and maybe encourage them to be able to reach out and be a part of one, because I know it's been a very transforming thing for me.
Yeah, I hear you. It's awesome. So, Lorraine, how about you? What's your story?
Okay, so I actually live in Hamilton, Ontario, in Canada. So right along the probably Lake Ontario and Lake Erie is fairly close to me. So I headed down to New York State back in September, only about 3 months ago, and met Jane. I was at a retreat with the grandmothers of the Sacred We, 6 Indigenous grandmothers. It was actually kind of funny because there was about 28, 30 of us there, and it was set up in a circle, as it is from a traditional way from Native Americans, because they understand that the circle is never fully enclosed, that there's room for anybody to join, nobody is at the head. So it's all that we're on the same level and sharing. And as I sat there, I picked my spot, and I'm sitting there for a few minutes, and then I just automatically got up and moved over 3 seats right beside where Jane was sitting. And it just, I don't know why I did it. I just did it. But today I know why I did it. So being connected and feeling that strength there. So it was amazing that right away that occurred, and that there is really the strength of a circle and a woman's circle. And I don't even think we use the word women, and I think sometimes that's what some people may think. This is just my opinion, that it may be feminist, but a women's circle, it's bringing the feminine and the masculine in, and it's having the support in doing that. And I think each one of us may have more feminine or masculine, and that's why it works, because it isn't feminist. It's bringing those qualities together within us. I've had quite a few teachings with the First Nations in Canada, and everything that I've taken part in has tied back to the circle, whether it be the 4 directions, the water, the earth, the fire, the air, that's circular. Whether it be one of the stories I heard about water is from the feminine perspective, is it's the women that carry the children, but that water that's in us gets carried from generation to generation. And I think that's why we as women get drawn to these circles to share, because we have that common flow already within us that then is an energetic flow within the circle. And I think that's the power. It's truly the power of it. I think some of my experiences I've had, and I stepped into this not really knowing what I was doing and not feeling fully comfortable, but I pulled a group of women together, and in the beginning it was just mothers, daughters, and sisters. My mother, my daughters, my sister, and then really close friends, because that's where I felt comfortable sharing. But there was some other people there, and the strength of that was just being able to release when you needed to and have that support and comfort around you. And the bond that you form with everybody it doesn't go away, it stays with you. And I think that's the strength of women's circles. We call it that, those are words that we use, but it's much, much more than just women sitting around a circle. So yeah, that's about it. There's lots more, but I'll let you go.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Lorraine. And it was awesome. So I have to say something a little funny, because it was, I don't know that it was the first day we sat together, but there was one day very shortly after the first day when we looked down at our toes and we had blue toenails. We both had the same varnish on our toes. And it was like, okay, so we have to be friends. There's no other way around it. I don't think. So anyway, besides that, I guess one of the things I want to say about this to start off with is that I think as women, society, through no fault of anybody, just the way it's evolved over the last maybe 100 years, is, or more, it may be more, no, it's probably more than that, is that women have been pushed into a role, and it's a subservient role. And I'm not complaining, but it's a subservient role. And we were the homemakers, the gatherers, etc., etc. We were not the powerful human beings that we are meant to be. Mm-hmm. And because society has done that, I believe that it squashed us to the point where we didn't remember that we had the power. And so when I started to learn all of this, and it all started about the time I met Annissa, not because of Annissa, but some other things we had done. And I started to realize that I had other power inside of me that needed to get out. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how. I didn't know what it meant. And then I started to meet other women, and Nisa, and over the last 11 years or so, 10, 11 years, I now have a circle of women around the globe. And it's not here in this little town I live in, but it's literally around the globe. And look at the three of us. Lorraine, you're in Toronto, in Ontario, and Annissa, you're in Washington. I have another dear friend that I know I can call on her either whenever I need anything, and that's Diane. She lives part-time in St. Martin, but there's other women as well. And I really, for the first 50 years or so of my life, I did not realize the strength of being in a circle. And it doesn't necessarily mean to say that you have to sit around in a circle. You can do this virtually as well. And that's maybe what we should move forward with in the future. But since I have understood the power of discussions and ceremony with other women, I truly have started to have a whole different outlook on myself, on the world, on my body, on everything that happens to me. And that, I think, is amazing. And it also, as I know you are as well, as a powerful woman, there have been times in my life where other women have moved away from me because of who I am. And I've always lived with that, and sometimes I was sad about it, but I didn't understand who I am. And so part of this Women's Circle subject is that it's not only connecting with other women, it's learning who you are deep inside, who you are, your soul is. Not necessarily the human form that you see right now, but what is going on with your soul, right? So I've really come to believe that these discussions we have, these meetings we have, going to the grandmothers and sitting in circle with them, and there were there two men in that circle, Lorraine?
Yes, two, yeah.
And that masculine energy really helped the whole thing. But they were both very special men. That they were there and open to whatever was going on. And so my guess is they have a pretty strong feminine side as well. I was telling someone at dinner the other night about this movement and what we were doing today, and he said, well, why aren't you doing this for men? And I said, well, I would love to do it for men, but I don't know what men need. It's just really difficult to know what they need when you're not a man. And I don't know, maybe you guys, Annissa, you could speak to that as well, because I think it's important understanding that, and Lorraine, you mentioned something like this as well when you were just talking a moment ago. It's not that we're excluding men. And I don't think that that is what we're all about. In fact, I don't want to exclude men out of my life. So, what do you think, Annissa?
Well, that's very interesting you just said that, because that was exactly what was going on in my head when, Lorraine said it really beautifully. This is not a feminist movement. And what I love about, Women's Circle is absolutely not about excluding men at all. It really just isn't about, again, to come into a circle, and if, let's say, my husband came into that circle with us, of course, he would be welcomed. But again, we as women, unless we're really, really in touch with our masculine side, aren't going to understand how he operates or thinks. And that, I personally feel, could actually cause damage, if you will, if a man were to join the circle and not be understood. It can be a very negative experience. If like, honestly, I feel the same way you do, Jane. I would not know how to understand to understand, I guess, like when you think about the things that we just very much open, and I think of my experience with you and the gals, which, by the way, you're absolutely right, Jane. You said this, that, or Lorraine, I think you said this, that when you go to something like this, I was there with 9 other women whom the only one I knew was Jane. I had distantly met one of them many years before, but the only one I knew was Jane. I feel an absolute, complete connection with every woman that was there. And I've never seen them since. And I only saw them for that 48 hours that we were all together. But I feel literally on a soul and heart level connected with each of those women to this day. So I don't understand or pretend to know, want to. I'm very intrigued by how a man operates and works. And yes, I want men in my life too. And would love to see men's circles. But the reason that this is, where we're at right now is because it's, first off, we have to be able to support and nurture those in the circle, correct? And in order to do that, we need to be able to understand and connect with, and let's face it, men and women are different. We are made up very different. We operate very differently on a actual, cellular, emotional level. We operate very differently. And it's funny, Jane, that you brought this up, because my husband actually asked me, I told him I was going to be on this call today, and he wanted to understand what a women's circle was. And he said, so, how come there's no men's circles? And I thought, and I didn't say it, but now I want to go wake him up, because it's very early here where I am. So now I want to go wake him up and say, honey, we should do a men's circle. That would be great.
Yeah.
maybe you should start one. I just think that it's not about feminists. It's not about women being so repressed, and now all of a sudden we're saying no more of this. We're going to do circles and no longer be repressed. That's not what this is. And I really want to point out, and you ladies may feel differently, so by all means share. I feel like what I've discovered, at least within myself, and I've seen it in other women that I've been in circle with, that oftentimes I find that it's us that holds ourselves back. I wasn't being repressed by anybody. Jane helped me see this about 6 years ago, and she quite frankly scared the crap out of me one day when she pointed out my power and how strong I was. And she was right. She called me completely on it and was like, "You're scared of how powerful you are and what you have inside of you." And she was absolutely right. Absolutely. Now, that coming from a man would not necessarily have been the same, providing unless he was really in touch with his feminine side and been able to really connect with me on that level, right? Because I was very vulnerable when Jane opened up that box and we really delved into that. But I realized it was me holding myself back, not my husband, not a man, society, yes, does definitely play a role for sure, but it was really me. Nobody was stopping me but me. And so having the support of loving, nurturing, open women who want nothing more than to help you blossom and grow, is it not help you, overpower the, men of society, nothing like that, but to help you nurture and grow into the powerful, beautiful human being that you are, feminine human being that you are potentially there, it is just absolutely loving and positive, and it really what the movements are about. I just think that you're right. The words that we use when we call them Women's Circle, that's just the words that we use. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing, and the other thing is there's some times when it would be difficult to have a man in the circle for, say, we were doing a release of some kind, and there are some times and some subjects that it would not be appropriate to have a man in the circle. So. Right. Anyway, so Lorraine.
Yeah, so yes, I agree. I resonate and agree with everything that you're saying. And you said, I go back to, this isn't just beginning now. It's been going on for eons. I mean, the Native American communities, First Nations communities, in sweat lodges, there was a time when they would not allow women to come into there when they were on their moon cycle. That's our connection with the moon and the sun that is very powerful. We were too powerful to be in there with them at that time. They acknowledge that. It's not like they're saying, we're not allowing you to come in. We don't want you in here. It's the power that the women had that at that particular time anyway, that it would disrupt things for them. So it's this power, and it's a very strong word, power, and it is just a word, but it's identified as a strength that we have, that they know what it is, and we're just catching up with that now and knowing that. I agree, it's been suppressed maybe in other cultures. The retreat that I went to with the grandmothers, this came out very, very strongly with me. It's about getting into opening my heart by receiving and giving, but then that energy that comes into my heart settled down into my solar plexus area, which is where the chi is, where the strength is, where the power lies. The shamans see all kinds of names for it. And to actually feel that, and I think the words that you used, Annissa, was about blossoming, coming out of accept, like our self-worth. And I think women getting together allow you help each other through that. You support each other through gaining that self-worth. I think it's hard if there is men that are in that they may have been, and it's not them that have pushed it down. Like you said, it's us that have pushed that, but still the same. When you need that support around you, and that support. I do want to say, like, following some of the grandmothers, they have done this with so much grace, and I look to them now and watch and listen and feel who they are and how they've stepped into that powerful place and what they've been able to do with that, moving on with knowing that. And I just, in my heart, if everybody could feel this way and have that knowing of that's what this is about. And so that's Jane, you doing this. I've now, since coming back from that, have kind of immersed in my community, trying to find out where all these places are to meet with people. And it's so powerful. So it just picks me up every time I go to them.
Yeah.
You know, it's something that Lorraine just said when you said that about the word power, Lorraine, you know, what I like to think about it is, gosh, I know power sometimes makes people, but another way to maybe think of it is that it lets you realize the light that's within you, and lets that shine. And I think that is, and that can scare us. I know it scared me scared me to death. But that's probably, and that light, especially women who have been in circle. I personally feel that was why I immediately drew to Jane, was because I could see her light.
Yeah.
I didn't know it at the time, right? But I could see her light shining. It was like this beacon that said, I always felt different with her. I always felt like I could just be me with Jane.
True self.
There was I could just be me. There was no judgment. There was no competition. There was no jealousy. It was always, and Jane always celebrated not only herself, but me. And so for just being who I am, there was no judgment. And so the more we can do that for women in our life, I believe that's the key to, bring those chains that we suppress ourselves a lot with. But yes, power can sometimes be off-putting, and sometimes I like to refer to it when I'm talking to people about it as light, because that kind of helps a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. Softer.
Yeah. So I like that a lot. And we all have strong auras, all different colors. So yeah, it certainly has changed my life. I changed my life, understanding that I can connect with people, women like you guys, and the other ladies that I know, and the new ladies that will be coming into my life. And it's really, really has changed my life, because prior to this, I really couldn't, I really didn't understand the loving support I could get from other women. So I'd like to just sort of wrap up. So if you could each sort of give a closing sort of statement about whatever you're feeling right now, and then we'll close the meeting. Annissa?
Yeah, well, I'm feeling absolutely grateful in this moment, Jane, to be not only talking with you, as I always love talking with you, my dear, but I also feel like my circle's just widened because I've been able to be on the phone with Lorraine, and all of you that are listening to this. This is what we're talking about. This is you're bringing yourself into circle right now, in a sense, by listening to this, whether it's a podcast or recording that you're listening to here. And I really want, hopefully you're feeling the warmth in your solar plexus, and the gratefulness, maybe even a bit of peace. I don't know where you're at in your life. I know I feel extremely peaceful in this moment. I'm looking out over a beautiful pasture. I'm watching the deer walking across my daughter's pasture to go to the pond and eat, and her baby cows. And I feel a lot of peace right now, and I hope for everyone who's listening to this that you're able to have some peace in this last half hour or so that you've shared with us. And I really, really want to encourage you and hope for you that you will seek out the light that's within you, because you have it. You may not realize it at this moment. You may not feel like you do. I don't know where you're at in your life, but you do have light. And if you let your light shine, you allow others, you allow men and women to let their light shine and be an absolute beacon of love and light in this world. And that's what we need.
That's totally what we need.
Right. We need love and light in this world. And the way we get that is to help more and more to let their light shine so that they can blossom into the powerful, amazing, beautiful female creature that they are. And so I really encourage you to reach out. I know Jane, I'm sure will give you areas to be able to reach out to her if you don't have someone in your local area community. And I just encourage you to continue to seek out and get involved in a women's circle and let your light shine.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Annissa. So we have 4 minutes left of recording time, Lorraine. So please.
I don't have to say a whole lot. You said it all. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. I don't need to. I think there's no need to just speak for the sake of speaking. I think that was all said, and I'm very blessed to be able to be here. I think this is an awesome tool to be able to use. If this is the way that it needs to go and transpire through webinars, so be it. I'll do whatever I can to spread it out far and wide and to bring people together and help you out in this endeavor, Jane. So
cool. Thanks, Lorraine. So it's one of my goals. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do it, but it's my goal to have a women's circle where we connect all around the world virtually. Mm-hmm. But I'm working up to that one. But I wanted to thank you both so much for discussing this subject today. It's near and dear to my heart. And I really am looking forward to expanding what it is we're doing with the initiative, learning from both of you, from everybody else who's in the group on Facebook, and also all of the people that I've met through the grandmothers of the Sacred We, because we are all amazing beings, and I thank you so much for being here today. Mm-hmm. So,
Aria,
you are a goddess.
We hope you enjoyed this enchanting conversation today, and we look forward to having a new conversation with you in our next show. Our shows will be broadcast approximately every 2 weeks. We wish you much love and light in your life today. Thank you.